Hi guys, this is Charlie at Vintage Speed. We're going to show you today the workings of a Stromberg carburetor. This holds true for most of these early Strombergs, the 48s, 97s, 81s. They're all basically the same. There's some internal passage differences and pump size differences, venturi size differences, but as far as the workings of them, they run the same. Basically, our carburetors have 5 circuits on these early carburetors. You've got your float circuit, which encompasses your fuel inlet, your needle and seat, and your float pin, and that mounts in this part. We took this carburetor and sawed it in half so we can show you the internal passages of it so you'll understand it. All right, we're going to start out with the float circuit because it's basically the simplest. Your needle and seat, of course, is installed here. And then your float would be installed with your float pin. And that regulates the fuel that's coming into the bowl. And the fuel on this bowl, the proper level is down 1/2 inch from the top of the bowl. So that's where your fuel should maintain with your 2 pounds of pressure. So we've got fuel in our bowl. And that's basically all the float circuit encompasses, is just maintaining the level of fuel in your bowl. All right, the next thing we're going to go into is we're going to go into the main circuit. The main circuit is encompassed by your emulsion tube, your main jet, which is here, and your jet well plug. And the way this operates is fuel from the bowl comes down through this hole here. Actually, there's 2 holes. One of them's been cut away. It's on the other side of where the cut was. Comes down through this hole, and it goes through these holes and is metered. It passes into your main jet where the fuel, the proper amount of fuel, is metered into the emulsion tube. Now your emulsion tube sets in here, and it sets against a little ridge right there. When you're installing your emulsion tubes, or when you take them out to check them, and we have a kit to remove this, you never want to push them out from this side. You want to extract them through this end. All right. There's a chamber here. There's approximately 11 thousandths clearance between the body of the emulsion tube, and the emulsion tube will only go in 2 ways. The proper way to install it is with this bevel pointing down. So you want the pie cut 45 down. So it goes in and installs against that flange there, is what stops it. Here's the problem you have with emulsion tubes. Guys will take and they'll tighten the main jet down. Well, this is the weakest part of that tube. So if they tighten the jet and really wrench down on it, they'll pinch the holes shut. Like so on this one, it's got the holes almost pinched shut. See, there's not much space between here and here. What's happened is they've actually crushed the tube. So you want to make sure that your tube, that your holes, your bleed holes are open here. Okay, let's start up top here. You have your air bleed that comes down through the top of your venturi. That's this piece right here. And the hole in a 97 air bleed is approximately 36 thousandths. So if you use a pinquill gauge or a fractional drill, that's a bleed hole, should be about 36 thousandths for a 97. They're a little smaller on an 81 and a few thousandths bigger on a 48. Okay, so here's what happens. Your fuel enters here, comes through these holes, is metered through the jets, comes up this tube, and this hole right here, this 36,000 hole, is the bleed air, and the bleed air enters these holes on the side of your emulsion tube. And what that does is it emulsifies your gas. In other words, instead of you just putting raw fuel into the venturi, you're putting emulsified fuel. So this is the bleed air for your main circuit. Okay, now here's your venturi. It works on the principle of Luigi Venturi, that if a gas or a liquid's passed through a restricted space, it speeds up and it reduces the pressure. And that's the way all carburetors work. The simplest one right up to the most expensive quadrajet, they all work on the same principle. So when the air is speeded up, it creates a low pressure area, and the low pressure area sucks the fuel, brings the fuel out of the venturi, and that's how the main circuit works. So you've got your fuel coming in here, through these holes here, into your main jet where it's metered, the size of the jet you're using, into your emulsion tube. And this jet is screwed up tight against that emulsion tube. So the metered fuel is all going into the emulsion tube. It's picking up bleed air through this 36 thousandths hole. Now if you look at the hole in the top here, you're going to see the hole's real large. But if you look down inside, the hole is 36 thousandths. There's a bleed air hole down there. Okay, so you pick up bleed air and the fuel's emulsified, and that's how your main circuit works. Okay, now we're going to go to the idle circuit. The idle circuit uses an idle pickup tube that looks like this. It's got a hole in the bottom, and the size of the hole determines how much fuel goes into the idle circuit. This idle mixture screw is mounted right there. And what it does, you got to realize now that the fuel is up here because it's a 1/2 inch down from the bowl. When you get a vacuum signal on the bottom of your base below your throttle plates, it draws fuel from the main well here up that idle pickup tube, and then this is the other half of this carburetor. So this tube would be mounted right here, and if you notice, there's a hole right here. So when that tube picks up the fuel, it comes out this side hole, goes into this hole, runs across this passage, and it picks up bleed air right here. So that's the bleed air for your idle circuit. So it picks up bleed air here, goes across, down this tube, out this hole, down this hole, and comes down to your idle mixture screws, which meter the emulsified fuel coming out the back. Immediately above the hole where your mixture screw is, there's another hole, and that's called transfer or off idle. And actually what that does is as you advance your throttle plate real slow, it allows it to pull fuel from both of those holes until your throttle plates get open enough and you get enough airflow to start drawing fuel from your main circuit. So you've got your that's basically how your idle circuit works. So going over that again, your idle fuel is picked up here from the main well, goes through that little hole, it's drawn through that little hole, out this hole, through this hole here, it's picked up bleed air here, it travels inside this hole here is drilled all the way through beneath, picks up bleed air, goes over here, goes down that, out this hole, and down to your base. And that's your Carb idle circuit. That's how the idle circuit works on a 97. So a lot of you may have, in order to really understand how this carburetor works, you've almost got to cut it open. And it was almost criminal to cut this Stromberg 81 up, but believe it or not, it was broke on the bottom, so it was not a good carburetor. So we sawed it in half. Okay, you've got your idle in your main circuit. Now we're going to go to the pump circuit. Okay, your pump circuit, this is your pump well cut in half, okay? That's this pump well here. It's been sawed right in half, so you're looking at 1/2 of it. All right, your pump is mounted in here in your pump well, okay? When the pump goes up like this, it draws fuel through this inlet check valve, which is mounted right here. And that inlet check valve is mounted in this center hole right here. That's this. And then there's a plug that goes in there that seals that off. So fuel comes from the bowl and is drawn into the pump well, and as the pump is in the upstroke, it pulls the fuel into the pump well. Okay, now on the downstroke, you have a power valve, combination power valve pump check, because this does both, in the bottom of your pump well. The power valve mounts right there in the bottom of your pump well. Okay. Okay, now when you start on the downstroke, what happens is there's a little ball in here, and as the pressure is applied, it pushes that ball up against this seat and seats this off so that your fuel can't be pushed back into the bowl. It has to be pushed down through the power valve, and it comes out the hole, which is a numbered drill size on the side of the power valve, and it goes into this hole. There's actually two of these holes. There's one on each side, and these holes are connected to your tubes that come into the top of your bowl. And this is these tubes here. Okay, so this hole here is connected to a tube. There'll be one here for the tube on this side, one on the other side of that goes to the tube on the other side. So as you push down on the pump, I'm gonna take that washer off of there because it's making it hard, but there is a washer under that. As you push down on the pump, this check valve seats, and it pushes the fuel through the power valve and out those holes and out the squirter. Okay, now the Stromberg, also this circuit is used as a power circuit, an enrichment circuit. It's a very poor enrichment circuit. On an exhaust gas analyzer, it doesn't really show too much enrichment. The only time you get enrichment on a power valve on a Stromberg 97 is when the pump cup is all the way down and depresses this needle right here. So due to the fact that it's got such a small discharge hole, this the holes on these things are numbered drill sizes. The standard 97 uses a number 65 drill. The 81, the little carburetor, uses a 71 drill size, which is, remember, drill size is the higher the number, the smaller the drill. So a 71 would be a smaller hole than the 65. And the 48s, depending on if they're on Lincolns or what they're on, they're usually down around a 60 size because they've got a bigger venturi. They're inch and a 32nd, where these carburetors are 31 32nds. And by the way, that's what 97 means. 97, 31 32nds is 97 100ths, so that's why this is called a 97. Likewise, the 81 is 13 16ths, and the 81 uses this real small little pump chamber. It also uses a real small venturi compared to the 97. You can see the difference, that the pump's a lot larger and the venturis are a lot larger in the 97. Okay, so now when your power valve is depressed, then it allows the fuel. See, you're going to have a vacuum on this because this is inside the venturi. So the vacuum is actually pulling draft against this tube, so it will suck fuel through that hole and through the discharge tube. So this actually works as your discharge for your accelerator pump, and that's where your enrichment comes through for your power circuit. Okay, that's how your pump circuit works in these things. I think most of you are familiar with the choke circuit. I've done that in the assembly of the other carburetors and showed you basically how the choke circuit works. I think that pretty much covers your idle circuit, your main circuit, your float circuit, and your power circuit, and of course your choke circuit. That's on the top, which changes the density of the air fuel mixture, which enriches the carburetor so that you can start it. Well, I hope this helped you understand how the inside of a 97 works. If you want to, if you need any parts or pieces for this carburetor, you can call me at Vintage Speed, 772-778-0809. We're here in Florida. We have every part and piece for these carburetors and can help you with the tech. You can also buy off our online catalog. We have many parts for this. Every part for the Stromberg and parts that were never made that we have for this, like adjustable main jets and some other products. And that's www.vintagespeed.com. Thank you.